during AC. Though you are welcome to add your thoughts in the chat. All right. We have a busy agenda for this evening, so we want to get started. First, we need to approve the draft minutes for the December 8 meeting. Susan has distributed that draft. Are there any comments or suggestions? If not, can we approve the draft by common consent? If so, someone say so moved.
So moved.
Wonderful. All right, let's start the meeting off with our committee updates. We'll first hear from the data committee. Sunny, do you have anything to report from the data committee?
I don't
Oh,
think he signed on yet.
oh no. Is there anyone else? Do we have a forum? I mean, a
You
quorum?
just barely have a quorum.
Ooh. All right. Is anybody else on the data committee, or should we wait around for people to come?
Maybe you should wait a couple of minutes.
Okay, we can
It's
wait a few minutes. 6:30 is 6:30. So
Brian,
give,
it's all business this tonight.
yeah, this gives me the opportunity to share some culture. So in West African cultures, the start time is when people are present. And so when people show up is when we start, which is why, there's this thing in the culture of, people from my background coming late, but going back several centuries and a dynamic where you're focused on the community rather than the individual. You do not begin until the community is present. So I have no problem chilling until everyone comes. That's right in line with culture for me. How's everyone doing? Happy New Year. I haven't seen you since last year.
Absolutely. Doing
Good.
great.
How about yourself? So how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I can't complain. Had a great holiday season. We got our kids a playground for Christmas, and they totally spazzed out. When we have our event on the 29th, I'll show you videos on my phone. But yeah, so we had a good break. Susan, what is our quorum?
7.
Okay.
We've got some more coming in.
Okay.
Hello, Officer Estrada. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well and Happy New Year.
Happy New
Thank you.
Year.
Same to you. Hi, Terry.
I'm looking for all the buttons. I'm on my phone. Hi. I'm like, where are they?
Yeah.
I got called into an emergency at work, so I'm going to be off camera, but I'm here and I'm going to comment on the education stuff. So,
How dedicated are you? So when we start up, why don't we start with Terry? Would everybody be okay with that for her data report so she can go? As a matter of fact, why don't we do that now, Terry? Are you ready to go now? Because we're at subcommittee reports. Oh,
let me plug in my phone. I don't want to lose you in the middle of it.
all right.
Looking for an outlet. Have you started already or gone to minutes and
Oh yeah, I just started rattling off at 6:30, not realizing that we barely had a quorum. So so we took
Oh,
a break. You're fine. You're fine.
okay, apologize.
No,
And
you're fine.
again, since I'm on the phone, um, is Sean or Lauren on?
Both.
Perfect. So since you did the minutes and everything, I'm gonna ask Susan, can you pull up the memo? And I'd like to know, other than Lauren and Sean, has anybody read it?
I'm sorry, which memo is this? Just want to make sure that I'm
The education one, I think Susan sent it out. It was Sunday or Monday. She had sent the agenda out, and literally 5 minutes after she sent the agenda out, I sent her the education memo, right? So who did not get a chance to read it? So everybody read it? So I don't have to repeat it. I guess that's where I'm going, right?
So maybe do a brief summary. You have a couple hands of people who didn't read it.
Sure.
Mhm.
Sure. Okay. Again, I apologize. I'm on the phone. So, basically, we have done a fair amount of research about this, and we also met with COEs, community officers, as well as the leadership with the community officers. We also reviewed much of the data. We were at the listening sessions with the public, and we could see with the public there was quite diverse comments about if people feel safe at schools. So what I summarized here was kind of what we said, how do you feel safe? What different interpretations of how one feels safe in the schools. It was also brought out that in the fall of 2025, Montgomery County has changed their disciplinary rubric for disciplining students. And it's quite noticeable that many more students are being suspended. Moreover, with the students that are being suspended, they are non-white. So the rubric that was put together by the Montgomery County schools seems to be stricter, but it also begs the question again, what is safe? What is safe for some people? And me also saying, what is this, if you suspend more students, how is that going to actually support the mental health of a young individual? Where they're going to be out in the street, what's going to happen to that person as they grow older? So, and how does that really serve us? And what role do we have with the police and the integration with the schools so that our community is safer and the students are nurtured and taught in a safe environment that is supportive of everyone, regardless of their ethnicity or race? So after those discussions, as well as looking at a plethora of data that looked, in my opinion, like throwing spaghetti in the wall and seeing what stuck, we had some recommendations, and I'd like the council to take a look at the recommendations. If you could scroll down, I don't know if it's because I'm on my phone, that we would like to recommend for the future. Does Susan have it? I don't know who has the sharing. If you could scroll down for recommendations. So the first thing was advise on, thank you for scrolling, advise on an audit of the MOU, because as the advisory committee for the police in the county, we want to look at this agreement that basically is an agreement between the police and between the schools and audit the data. I think that would be a really good exercise, as well as see how it's being tracked, how it's being recorded, and who's responsible for the validation of like inter-rater reliability. Is this data really appropriate? And who's accountable for the enforcement of the MOU if it does or does not meet the standards set forth in the agreement? Again, with the goal of safety, community involvement, appropriateness for everyone involved. I would like the data committee to kind of look, and I think Francisco, you commented, and Sonny and I have been back and forth about a few things about the data, like who maintains it, how is it relevant? Again, how is the outline in place for these processes, and what are the standard metrics for data definitions? We also thought that a survey or some type of focus group would be great. I'm not sure how to implement this because it is with the schools, but the general questions would be, how do you feel safe? How do the students feel safe? We heard some of that in the listening sessions, but should that be through an email survey? We know that that's probably a low response rate, but what's the best way to approach that? And a fourth thing that I think it'd be great, I don't know how far we're going to get with it, but would actually ask the school superintendent to come and discuss the MOU, maybe even with the COE officers, how they feel like this can be improved, as well as foster collaboration and make safety a primary goal for all of us. So I'm going to stop talking. And I want to hear what you guys think.
So you have a hand, Terry. Christy has her hand.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Thank you for putting this together. And I agree with the recommendations in general. One of the things that I'm wondering, and I was trying to think about this as I was reading it, is that, there's the superintendent, but I know that in these particular issues, the Board of Education and the Countywide Council of PTAs has been very involved in a lot of these policy discussions and decisions over the course of the last several years. I remember that both the Board of Ed and the Council of PTAs had a very strong involvement in previous iterations of the MOU, and I'm not sure how involved they were in this MOU. So I'm just wondering if we would want to explicitly, engage those groups in this as well.
That sounds great.
Personally, I'm a cluster coordinator for the PTA system for my high school. And, I'm just trying to think through from a process perspective, how do we get the most collaboration and get the most kind of opinions into play in a way that's productive.
And if I may, this is Sean. We also kind of threw that around as well, because based on what our mission is, we want to make sure that we are still working towards the mission of the ACP and not necessarily stepping out into an arena that's not within our purview. So
Yeah.
you bring up a good point by bringing up the PTA and the education department as a whole, because we had that very same discussion. So if you have any ideas or thoughts in that regard, because we were kind of throwing around like who actually is taking the lead on this. Yeah, it's a memorandum of understanding, but who's really driving the ship, so to speak?
I see hands now since I've switched my screen on my phone that's like this big. Okay. Go ahead, Brian.
Is my hand up?
No, but I was going to let you lead. You're the lead.
Oh, me? Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Your chair. Yeah.
I saw Francisco, then Eva.
I'll be very brief. First of all, the fact that juvenile arrests are down, I think is a very positive and welcome development. Of course, school suspensions are up, and as I understand it, that can be identified, that can be connected to the new standards or code of conduct, but it is troubling that a particular set of students, it seems to be most affected by this change. So I think that's worth pursuing. I do like all your recommendations, specifically trying to get at who is responsible for the MOU, and so this is worthwhile. But I think it's important to try to figure out two things. One is, so why are juvenile arrests down? I think that's an important question. And
while suspensions are up.
While suspensions
right?
suspensions, they're two different things. But the fact is that people are saying juvenile arrests are down. So why is that? When you were talking about school safety, and I may be very narrow-minded, but there are some very specific um, uh, um, statistics that are kept. Juvenile arrest is one of them. Assaults, and I think that should be the starting point of because you need that set of um, standards or questions or statistics and say, is that good enough? Does this provide a good assessment of school safety? And I don't mean to speak from the data committee, but I will express my own personal opinion that we don't necessarily have any special how would I say skills that we can add to the mix, but other members of the committee may disagree, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thanks, Francisco. Eva.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what's been said. I think getting a read on how these changes to the MOU are being driven is really important. I do want to also say when it comes to school climate and sort of assessing current state from the students' perspective,
Right.
there are a lot of community organizations that we can partner with. I know Young People for Progress did an MCPS climate survey, but of course had limited resources. I think if we wanted to figure out a way to increase that outreach, there are a lot of community organizations that we could partner with to do that. I also think it would be really important to get, in addition to student perspectives, faculty perspectives. I know teachers have a lot of thoughts about the new code of conduct and sort of the school to prison pipeline in general. And I think if we want changes to be implemented or we want, to see improvements, ultimately the teachers need to be on board with whatever's happening, and the teachers need to be driving those changes in terms of, improving school climate and not criminalizing students. So those are just some thoughts.
All right. Anyone else with questions or comments for Terry or the school subcommittee?
Yeah, so I'm sorry, the light in this office that I just went off is a motion detector, so I'm literally not sitting in the dark, okay? My thing is, what we may not be able to measure, we may say, okay, arrest is down, but how does that make a young person feel if, someone's standing in the hallway with a weapon? I think the definition of safety is so subjective, and the students are there to learn. And I think that's like such a soft thing to measure for us. And I do understand the great need and the great trauma that goes along with, school guns and all that stuff. But I also think about the mental health of the students that are being suspended, as well as, walking down the hallway and seeing somebody with a weapon. So the definition of safety may be something that's really difficult for us to wrap our hands around right now. But I do think that we owe it to the next generation to make sure that everyone at least has a voice at the table as we go ahead with this. So I just wanted to say that, as I sit here in a hospital and see how many, really scary things happen to young people.
I think my question was, I know that it was brought up a few times about arrests being down, but suspensions being up. Is there some kind of correlation or causative relationship between the two? Because I'm not understanding how they relate. Has there been research that shows that when one is up, the other is like, I don't really see how those two relate to each other because they seem like two separate things. Because school performance is different than being outside, even though they're both adolescents. I'm just not seeing where that connection comes from between those two different variables.
Terry, you're muted. I don't know if you're trying to respond.
I don't think so.
No,
I was no, I think he
no.
was seeing this
Yeah,
up.
yeah, I wasn't trying to respond. I was trying to
Yeah.
just see who's on the call too. And I don't think Lauren, I mean, we talked about this at length. I don't know if
Yep.
there is a good answer, right?
It's not, right? That's why I was wondering, like, we could explore that as much as we want, but we're exploring it to do what? Because we know that arrests are down and suspensions are up, but what would that tell us? Like, what narrative is that painting if it never painted anything before? It might just be two different variables that have no relationship to each other. I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
So I think we have some responses. Eva, Francisco, then Christy.
There is actually research showing that there are at the very least correlations between arrests and juvenile justice outcomes and school suspensions, especially the earlier that they happen in the student's career. But if you think about it, a suspension is adversely impacting a student's academic performance, as well as self-concept, right? And both of those things lead to decreased educational outcomes, decreased college and career outcomes, and therefore decreased earning potential, all of which are comorbid with and factors influencing petty crime and other arrestable offenses, as well as mental illness, right? So
What's the timeline on that, Eva? So, I mean, this policy just got implemented. So is there do you know what I mean? The correlation? Like, does it take a minute?
Yeah.
A study I'm looking at right now, from what is this from? From the Journal of Youth Sociology is showing a 12-year longitudinal study. But it can start earlier than that. You know, even anecdotally, I know students who have had 1 or 2 suspensions and are now not at risk, or are now at risk of not finishing high school on time. And if someone doesn't have the proper support structures for that, that can very easily lead to future arrests and convictions.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, yeah. So that's separate. Oh, no, because that's different than my question. So, not the correlation between suspensions and future arrests. If we're talking about juvenile arrest and suspensions, these are things that happen at the same time. So, I'm not asking about the correlation between, that's more sort of prison to school pipeline right there, because we know that happens. But I'm talking about specifically how we're saying that, well, arrests are down, but suspensions are up. What happens at the same time? So not what happens down the line from suspensions happening or from these early exposures to being arrested, what's happening at the same time?
I see. That's a good question. And I would have to look at the data within the county on that. But I also know that, like, suspensions, I think, have been presented sort of as an alternative to police involvement in schools.
Okay, we want to add some other voices to this. So we have
but we don't know that.
Francisco, and then Christy, and then Sherry.
Yeah,
Cherie, excuse me.
Just very quickly. If rather than resorting to the police, school administrators are resorting to other disciplinary measures to avoid getting a child involved in the criminal justice system, I think that's good. And so if there's a correlation that rather than turning to the police, they're turning to suspensions, I think that's good. But I don't know if that's the case. We don't know. And I know that the state of Maryland requires schools to address problems as much as possible through administrative support in other ways, and rather than just resorting to the police and law enforcement, and also alternatives to just simple punitive measures. And so the question that I have is that what they're doing? And I don't know. And I think that's worthwhile for the committee to look into. Thank you.
Brian, you can go to Sherry first since I already spoke once.
Okay. Hi. So, sorry I'm late, and so I'm coming to this discussion late, but as I understand it, I guess we're first assuming we're talking about the same set of juveniles, right? We're talking about the same 12 to 19-year-old population in a given place at a particular time, right? So, and amongst that population, arrest for criminal activity has decreased, but suspensions for in-school activity has increased. Right. So to me, the first question is, okay, what are the infractions in school that lend themselves to suspension? And it's my understanding that, we had this discussion in the NAACP some time ago when they first announced this new policy. So it's my understanding that kids are being suspended, and we should be, I think one of the things we should be clear about is whether we're talking about in-school suspensions or out-of-school suspensions, because I know that they are different. I don't know exactly how that affects one's life, but I do know those are different things. And I know there's a place, I think it's on Avery Road, where they send kids who have been suspended or whatever, or maybe expelled. I don't know. But anyway, so if that's the population, one of the things we discussed some time ago in the NAACP, and so it's my memory's a little foggy, is that kids are being suspended for things like insubordination. And insubordination is, talking back. I mean, what, we used to call talking back, and your basic acting a fool, okay? Talking back and acting a fool. I mean, those are the kinds of infractions or activities that are leading to suspensions under the new policy that are not in any way criminal conduct, right? So it's kind of like, kids can be arrested for running away, but a grown-up can leave the house and say, I'm done with y'all, and they can't get arrested. So we arrest kids for things we don't arrest grown-ups for. Okay. So there are, that's a part of the concern I have, is that kids are being suspended for activities or actions that had not previously been deemed to be suspendable, if that's a word, offenses. Okay. And if that's what's going on, then that's very troubling, because and that's why, I've been saying for a long time, when it comes to safety, like, safe for who? This when I was coming up, I know it was 110 years ago and whatnot, but this kind of stuff would be handled by the principal. You'd get sent to the principal's office, and believe you me, I spent some time there. I was very familiar with that place. And so, for those kind of things, talking back and acting up and being a fool, this, and yet somehow I, turned out not to lead a life of crime. But anyway, I became a lawyer. Might be a correlation. But so here's here's my concern. I think it is a good thing for us to ask whether there are increases in suspensions for activity that under previous policies or previous incarnations of the policy were not things kids got suspended for. Okay, I think that would be a good place to start, because I think that would help show that whether there is some kind of tightening, excuse me, or tightening of conduct regulations that is ultimately potentially harmful to a child's ability to feel to just feel free in an environment. You know, I mean, I acted up and said a lot of crazy stuff because I just spoke up and I spoke out, and I would get sent to the principal's office. But me speaking up and speaking out wasn't deemed to be sufficiently offensive, although it probably was offensive, but not sufficiently offensive to get me kicked out of school.
Wait, Cherie, I want to ask. So that rule about insubordination, that's so radically subjective. Are there rules about what insubordination means? And then Chris has been waiting a mighty long time. We'll give her a chance.
And that is a part of the definitional underpinning that we need to explore. You know, it is we have and it seems to me that the insubordination and the subjectivity that surrounded that notion is potentially something that explains why certain populations are now at a much higher rate of suspension. That's, you know, so it's instead of a policy that it is a policy that is potentially rife with subjectivity, right? And that is the issue to me. I mean, I think, you know, and then once you get to the subjectivity of, you know, the definitions, then the next question becomes, how are these things documented? You know, and what kind of objective criteria are being used to say, oh, yes, indeed, Junior over here was insubordinate. You know, this can't be, you know, teacher felt, you know, Junior standing up in class and yelling and acting a fool, but that it's there has to be something objective that supports what is really a subjective thing. So I think the first thing we have to understand is the difference between what gets kids suspended now versus what got them suspended before. And by that, I mean, what are the offense criteria? How are they defined? And who is the what official actually pulls the trigger to get the kid suspended, and what objective criteria are they required to enter into their decision-making process? I hope that all makes sense.
Yes, thank you. So Terry has to log off at 7:20 to save lives. We'll bring in Christy, and then while we have her, let's wrap up what's next with the information provided. All right. So Christy.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I think some of what I wanted to say was what Sherry was touching on. And I think for your recommendations, number 1 and 2, just like honing in on the fact that we would like better information on what the data is. And I think that's where we need to push on that. On recommendations 3 and 4, for 3, I would just urge us to make sure that we're not suggesting whole new surveys that don't exist, because I think that there's a lot already out there. It might just be recommending an additional question to a climate survey or something. Given the pressures on everyone's time and on the budget, I think that would be good. And then on the 4th, I totally agree that we should ask the superintendent and possibly a couple of others to make this a topic of one of our upcoming meetings. That's all. Thank you.
All right. Any other thoughts on the recommendations that we have from Terry in the data in the education or the school safety committee? Francisco?
Yes. Sorry for having a third bite at the apple, but just a parting thought, and that is, I really like the focus on the MOU for the recommendations. We are the Advisory Commission on Policing, and as much as we would like to solve all the problems of the school system, the public school system, it's going to be difficult for us to do. And our recommendations will carry more weight when they're focused on the MOU, the role of police in and around the schools, and if we partner with the PTAs, maybe we can find that they are taking the lead on some of the other issues, such as the new policy and suspensions. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.
All right, very good. All right, any other thoughts before we move forward? All right, so
Brian, I just
Yes.
wanted to say, from what I understand, I don't know if a motion is necessary, but there were 4 recommendations from Christie's feedback and Cherie's feedback. It sounds like, and I'm just putting it out there, 1, 2, and 4 are green light. 3 may need to be reworked, and then maybe a addendum with Cherie talking about the whole audit, about the levels of the rubrics in terms of the suspension. So I don't know how to formulate that into a motion, but that was my thought, given what we've all discussed.
That's good.
So let's say you're making the motion, Terry. It would be to move forward recommendations 1, 2, and 4. And are we passing? What are we doing with recommendation number 3?
I think it was what Christy said, is basically examine that in light of maybe, again, what she said and what Francisco said, in light of possibly using some of the data that's there with the survey, as well as the PTAs and things of that. So a revision of item 3.
So let's do two things. First, we have a motion to pass to push forward recommendations 1, 2, and 4 from the school safety report. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of moving the recommendations forward, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposition? Any abstentions? All right, so moved. All right, what precisely, we need to be with specificity, how are we reshaping recommendation 3? Christy, Cherie, those of you that had thoughts, do you have any specificity there?
Can you just read recommendation 3 again, please?
Can you pull it back up, Susan
I'm on it.
or Logan?
I have a suggestion. We could say, oh, I just lost it. I had it open.
Thank you.
My suggestion would be that instead of saying assess community and staff satisfaction, say review existing climate survey data sources to determine whether there are gaps in assessing the police's role in this MOU or something like that.
Right. And these exist? Or are we looking to see if they exist?
Well, we know that there are various climate surveys and other collections being done in other places. Like, doesn't the school system do a climate survey every?
I think they do, but my question will also be, does it address police presence in the school though? Because wouldn't ours have to specifically address that? Because that's what we're looking for, not just safety generally, but in regards to having school resource officers. So it might be some out there, but I don't know if it'll cover what we're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And I also don't know the timeline of when they do those various surveys, but what I was saying is why we wouldn't want to do like a whole additional survey if we could add a question or two onto an existing survey.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
So this doesn't need to be a motion tonight. Susan or Logan, can we do research to see if there's been, an assessment of the climate concerning school resource officers, if that's out there? Or would you happen to know?
I don't know. That's definitely much more in the MCPS purview, which I don't do.
And so let me just back up to Francisco's point. Are we crossing over from, doing ACP work to moving into the school systems work? Sean?
Yeah, I was just going to touch on that same point. I think with talking about two different sets of people and kind of merging them into one, you have school safety, and then you have the presence of MCPD at the schools. And school safety is not in our purview. So I think we need to, again, get to the point of figuring out who's driving the MOU, who controls what happens as a result of that MOU, and then that should be driving the ACP's work.
Okay.
Hopefully that makes sense.
Yes, it makes sense. Cherie?
Regarding the number 3, I think what we can request is simply a question in the upcoming school climate survey, whenever that may be, about the implementation, about the removal of the SROs, or, the implementation of what they call community engagement officer program. I think we can ask for, because, I think we can ask that, an assessment of the implementation of the program, because the CEO program, I guess it's called now, does have to do with the MOU. So if we're asking about how do you feel about this, then we are essentially asking about the MOU.
But is that a recommendation we could make as the ACP? It sounds like something that you would do with the NAACP and then bring the data back to
No.
and then bring the data back to us. I'm not sure.
Well, the NAACP, we do a lot, but I'm not sure we can ask the school system to include this question in any surveys. But I think the ACP can ask about, since it is my recollection that a big driver in the removal of the SROs was the feeling of students, right? And the kids did not want the SROs there. And so I think we can ask, how do the kids feel about the new CEO program? I think that's fair game.
Okay. Francisco?
I just second Cherie's point. I think it's fair game.
Okay.
And Lauren, I agree.
All right. Sean, is your hand up for a new comment?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Let me lower my hand.
All right. So Cherie, do you want to re-raise your idea as a motion?
Yes. So I move that we recraft recommendation 3 to simply ask the school system to provide data about community and staff satisfaction regarding the CEO program.
Is there a second?
I'll second. It's Terry.
All right, Terry seconds. It's been moved and seconded that we revise recommendation 3 using the information. I won't restate it all that Cherie shared. Do we need to restate it? Is everyone clear and ready to vote?
Ready to
If
vote.
so,
Ready to
if
vote.
so, all in favor say aye.
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 I
All right. Is there any
Aye.
opposition? Please say so. All right, because we're scaring the screen, so you have to talk up to say nay. Any abstentions? All right, very good. Motion passes. Thank you so much, Terry and School Safety Committee for these robust recommendations, and we'll move forward with them.
Thank you.
And
I'm
Terry,
gonna leave you guys. I'm gonna leave you guys on. I'm gonna listen, but I'm gonna turn the camera and everything off. So in case something comes up, okay.
all right. Thanks
I
again
just
for
have to
your
be available.
dedication.
Yeah, no problem.
So we're a bit behind schedule, so please don't be angry with me if I try to drive the meeting a little more forcefully, okay? So we have Sunny did not come, I don't think. So is there anyone else from the data committee that can give us an update, Francisco? You're muted.
Thank you. We had hoped to meet today with MCPD to discuss the tranche of databases that we selected. Unfortunately, there was a little bit of disconnect, and so the meeting did not take place. Sunny is in the process of rescheduling it, and so he's getting opinion. Trying to find a new time and date to do so, and that's it.
Thank you. We look forward to hearing the updates. Eva, Compliance Committee.
am I missing anything? I don't think we have anything major to report.
No, we're just waiting on the on both MCPD and the TAV to get back to us either with feedback on our initial draft findings or to suggest a time where we can meet. And then, if I guess before the next meeting, we can start working on the other lines of effort.
All right, very
That
good.
sums it up.
The other items in the dashboard, the equal law enforcement for all, and the reimagining a policing task force, public safety task force.
All right, very good. All right, let's move on to old business. We have the letter to State Senator McCarthy. Susan, is there an update?
I do not have an update since the holidays, so
all right.
I'll reach out this week again.
Very good. Thank you. We have an update on expedited bill 3525, County Administration Immigration Protections. Francisco, is there an update here?
Yes. Ava, Cherie, and I reviewed the bill, and generally we welcome the effort to ensure that immigrant members of our community feel safe. However, we had a few very specific questions, and we asked ACP staff to forward them to the staff lawyer working on the legislation, and so hopefully we'll get an answer. And then we can come back to the ACP plenary with suggested response, either welcoming the bill or welcoming the bill with comments.
Okay. Any other comments? All right. Susan distributed a memo for the ACP to participate in the SILES Civic Engagement event, CILES, on January 7th. Francisco, did you attend that?
Yes, actually, there were five of us, if I remember correctly.
Who were the other four?
Christina, Sean, John, Terry. Did I miss someone?
Okay.
And to be perfectly honest, it was. Thank you very much. No, I think I got everybody. Just very briefly, it was a very good meeting. I think I would encourage all of the members of the ACP to participate. It's a great opportunity to get a sense of what the latest cohort of new police officers in our community look like and how they express themselves. We had a really good back and forth and talking about the challenges that police officers who do not live within the county may face in trying to serve our community and feel like they're members of our community and relate to our community. The other thing, very interesting thing, what to me was just looking around the room. It seemed to be more diverse than our current police force, and I thought that was very good. I thought the other thing is, and I forget who it was that asked how many were residents of the county, and by my estimate, it was about 75%, three quarters raised their hand, and again, that far exceeds the average in our current police force. So I see those two very superficial indicators as very positive signs. If anybody else wants to add anything, please. And if I missed something or I got something wrong, please.
No, I think you touched on pretty much everything that took place, Francisco.
Can I ask just a quick clarifying question? How often do these sessions happen?
Once, as I understand it, Susan, they're once per class.
Correct.
So this is the second one we've had, in a year, pretty much a year. We had one in March and then this one.
Okay, so there are like a few classes a year, and then this is once per class.
Right.
Thank you.
Eva?
I was wondering if any of you had a sense who attended of what the ages of these folks were. Like, are they straight out of high school? Are they straight out of college? Are they joining the force later in their career?
I can
Yeah.
tell you, I felt they were young, but from those who did speak, seemed like they had police experience. For the ones that did have something to say, ask questions. But again, I feel like I'm old anyway. But they seemed like they were pretty young. There was one gentleman who I think he said lived in Frederick, if I'm correct, and I think he said he was 40.
Mm-hmm.
And he
Right.
was
Right. I agree with you, Sean. For the most part, everybody's young now, but they did seem to be pretty diverse too, which was what I found to be quite enlightening and positive, and very diverse backgrounds also, which was very nice to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was one college graduate, two who had worked for CVP. One that had prior law enforcement experience, one prior military. Yeah.
All right. Any other comments on this event? If not, we will move on. We have our informal get-together on January 26th. That'll be held at the church, Mount Calvary Baptist Church, Rockville, which is 608 North Horners Lane. Christy, did you ever distribute potluck
Let
lists?
me share a link to a sign up. There are several categories of things that people can bring. Tried to be specific here. If there's something that, and I also put in there an opportunity to come early to help set up and to stay late to help clean up. So hopefully, people can sign up so that we can have food, beverages, and other things.
Mm-hmm.
So feel free, if you can't figure out how to use the Sign Up Genius, you can email me.
I'm gonna throw something out here, Chrissy. You must have served at a church. You put in there, get there early to set up and clean up. People forget about that.
It's PTA, Girl Scouts, and everything else. But I put my email in there if you want to, give any other suggestions or maybe anything that I might have missed.
All right. So I just signed up to try it out. It's super easy, everyone. So just click on before maybe like right after the meeting or whenever and sign something up. So I appreciate you mentioning the cleanup piece. So that's good. It will be set up, everything will be set up and we'll have it nice and decorated. We are actually going to use the room that's under the sanctuary, which is more closed off because the other space would be the life center, which can seat, like 400 people. So that's going to be kind of huge for where we are. And we'll have a good time. So yeah, so please sign up. Again, it's super easy
and like I said, if I missed anything on that list, please email me.
Yeah.
I was just trying to, think through what we might need.
So I don't know if you would need like icebreakers, but if you have like party game ideas that you want to bring, that'll be fine as well. Someone else was talking. I see Sean. Cherie, go ahead.
I was just going to ask if you can send the link out after the meeting in an email so that I can, think on it.
Yep, I will.
Yeah. And also for all the others who were not here today.
Yeah. Sean?
Yeah, so unfortunately, I'm going to have to be out of the area the day of, but if you give me a number, I'll commit to the dessert again. And I can have it delivered there if you provide me the address.
Sure. So it's 608 North Horners Lane. I can put that in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
And while we're doing that, is there any other old business? Any other old business? All right. If not, let me just type in zip 20876. No, that's where I live now. 20850. All right. I misspelled Rock Hill, I think, but I think you know how to spell it.
Brian, I don't know if this does not include like an RSVP for the actual event. So I don't know if I mean I can see if I can add something that includes an RSVP for who's coming. I didn't think about that, but
that might be a good idea because we also said significant others, right? And kiddos, so it'd be good to have a number. So if you can do that too, Chris.
Let me see if I can make a change to it.
All right. While you're doing that, we'll move on to new business. And so I guess we need to have a mid-year review of progress on our work plan. At the last meeting, we agreed that commissioners would review the work plan to discuss progress. And so are there any thoughts or updates on the progress we're making on our work?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I know we have to schedule a couple of public forums. Would we be able to do that by next meeting? That I can lock it in the schedule so I'll know way ahead of time, or is there a process we have to wait to schedule those?
I think it makes sense for us to plan to do that at the next meeting.
Okay.
Because it's still early in the year. Really, we should have thought of that for today because we could have set our calendar. But next meeting, I think we should let's plan to nail those dates down. Yeah.
Thank
All right. And we're still committed to 2 per year, right? 1 virtual, 1 in person. Okay. Francisco?
Yeah, I think we should try to schedule the next public forum as soon as possible. I think March is probably a little bit early, but if not March, certainly April. And yeah, and I think that in regards to outreach, I think we're basically on track if we do manage to get another one before June.
So we would have both meetings in the first half of the year, you're saying? You muted yourself.
No, no. So long as we need to have one before June.
Okay. How does everyone fit? So do we want to talk about this now? We're in new business. How do you all feel about having a meeting in March?
I think March
I
is
ask a question?
doable.
I'm sorry. Cherie, then Eva.
Yeah. So, my question is, what were the months we had last year?
March and September.
And so it wouldn't be possible to try and stick with that. Because if the first one is virtual, then we could potentially still do it in March. The public one is the in-person one is kind of hard, because we really do have to have, I don't like to do and schedule in-person things for months in which it may snow. But I think it might be advisable to try and stick with the same time frame, so that it becomes sort of a sort of ritualized, like we do this every March and every September. This is how we roll.
Does anyone disagree?
No, I agree. And if come at the next meeting we find that the pieces are not coming together, we can push it back to April if we need to.
All right. So that begs the question, what are we covering in the March meeting? What is the focus?
Well, that's to be decided. We can probably discuss that at our February meeting, and we should have that as an item of the agenda and then address it.
Yeah, because we advertise that, right?
Right.
So we would have just a month to do that.
Right.
So if you all are fine with that, I'm fine with it. But so that's high on the agenda for next month. A focus for our virtual meeting, which will tentatively be March 2026. Our meetings, do we hold them on the dates that we would hold our regular meeting, right? Okay, so that would be the first Monday in March. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Eva?
Oh, second Monday in March.
Second Monday, thank you.
Second Monday of March. And I just wanted, and I'd like your recommendation, Eva, that people come up with 2 or 3 possible topics for that we can discuss in February too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just as an add-on to that, I would encourage folks to think about like immigration, as always, especially, in light of recent events. And because this is virtual, so it's probably, hopefully, a safer forum for folks. So if we can be a little directed with our brainstorming, that would be great. But of course, everything is on the table.
Yeah. All right. Is there any other new business?
Well, I don't know if anybody else has any other comments on the work plan. I certainly do.
Okay, let's continue.
So if we look, just going down, item number 3, access, evaluate, and provide feedback on MCPD planning processes. This is something that I was hoping that we would be able to do as MCPD started working on its strategic plan. But between other things and the fact that we never got any response on that, we haven't done it. And I'm not really sure, that we should think about this at the next meeting as to whether we want to continue, as to whether we really want to do something on this particular item. Number 4, examining MCPD community policing outcomes. I think everything we do is through the prism of community policing. Maybe at some point we need to have a session with MCPD to see if their views on community policing track with our views. But for the moment, I think we're okay. Review MCPD's data collection data. We're working on that. Review the role. This is an item number 7 in the work plan. Review the role of police in the probable cause and pretrial release decisions of district court commissioners. We were going to have a subcommittee on this. Henry volunteered to work on the subcommittee, but I don't think anybody else has joined the subcommittee, so I don't think we've done much on that. And again, I think we really need to revisit it and think, whether we need to do something in the remaining time or just drop it for the next for the next work plan. Again, 8 and 9, they're ongoing, and the public schools subcommittee is working on it, and reports, we do the reports in June as needed. Those are my thoughts.
Thank you, Francisco. Cherie?
Yeah, on the role of police in charging decisions, I think it may be helpful to have or to invite the state's attorney to explain how that exactly rolls. Okay. Because I think that might give people maybe a bit of encouragement to understand why this is a thing. Okay. I think that's part of it. I mean, so I would suggest that we not drop it. I mean, I don't think Francisco was suggesting that we drop it, but I would suggest that that we consider that's how we move forward on that one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, to me, I have to say, I still haven't figured out what that means, and maybe at the next meeting, somebody who is more knowledgeable than I am can explain, the issue and just what is.
Well, I can tell you what the issue is because I've heard John McCarthy talk about this before.
Okay.
And so here's basically, somebody gets arrested and they are taken to the magistrate. Okay. And the police and the magistrate, the magistrate, based on the I don't want to say testimony, but based on the statements of the police, then create the charges. That occurs before the prosecutor is ever brought into the equation. And there is no requirement or practice of the person, of the accused, soon to be accused, because they're not accused until after somebody makes us some charges. There is no requirement that the person arrested have any legal representation. The problem then becomes, or the issue then becomes, that this person is now charged, and at that point, based on those charges, that informs the bail decision. And there, and whether or not you get bail, and the amount of bail, it has just other domino effects on stuff in the criminal justice system. There are instances in which some number of those charges may be dropped because the prosecutor is looking at, what can I prove beyond a reasonable doubt? But even if those charges are dropped, somebody can look you up on Case Search, which is really kind of very public, and you still been charged with that stuff. Okay, that come off. Okay, so that's the issue. Is and I should mention that there's no requirement that the magistrates who are determining these charges have any legal education whatsoever. Okay. So that's the system in a nutshell, as I understand it, from my recollection of hearing John McCarthy talk about this. And that's why I think it would be really helpful to have John McCarthy come and explain this better. Because, I got a thumbnail memory from, a year ago.
So it sounds like to me you're volunteering to work with Henry to keep this subcommittee alive.
You always think I volunteer to do something, Mr. Chair, and I often am not. I'm just providing information.
Right.
But I am. But I think we could pretty much jumpstart it by inviting the state's attorney to come and explain that, because it is not a well-known thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you touch base with Henry and move that forward, that will keep that alive for us in the work plan. Francisco, I want to pull in Sean, and then I'll come back to you, Sean.
Yeah, and I guess I'm just trying to make sure that I understand, because you reference Cherie magistrate, but then you said that they don't have any formal legal education. So I just want to make sure that I'm not getting caught up on nomenclature. Are we actually talking about commissioners versus magistrates? Because I think the commissioners, you are correct in that definition. Magistrates, I think there has to be some level of legal education. No?
Then, yeah, I think it is commissioner. I think, you're right to point that out. And my bottom line is that the person who's doing this does not necessarily have to have a legal education.
Gotcha.
That's my bottom line.
Thank you.
And so, but yes, you're right to point that out.
Another quick question. Sorry. Yeah. So the magistrates, they're not like judges. They're not
commissioners.
Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioners. Yeah. No. Got it. Commissioners.
I messed up. They're commissioners.
Okay. So, I mean, this is kind of weird. This is very new to me, obviously. who do they work for? Not the police, not the prosecutors, for the courts?
Yep, for the state of Maryland.
Yeah, for the state of Maryland. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Oh, that's really interesting. And thank you very much for explaining the process. Yes, I agree. I think it bears looking into.
All right. So, Francisco, it sounds like we're moving 7 forward. Francisco raised concerns about numbers 4 and 5 on the work plan. Are there others of you that have comments on our work plan? So when we come back, let's talk about 4 and 5. Can everyone see it, or does everyone have a copy of the work plan? Because I just pulled mine up, but
yeah, no, I had no comments on no significant comments on 4 and 5. On 3, regarding the MCPD planning process, which was a leftover from last year, and I believe Mike Donahue probably introduced that. That's one that I hasn't progressed. We haven't been able to make much progress on that.
So you had no notes on 4 and 5, because
No.
that's what I
No.
must have highlighted the wrong notes. Sorry. All right. So, do we want to continue number 3? And our work plan, or do we want to make some revisions? Access, evaluate, and provide feedback on MCPD planning processes, specific goals, objectives, and outcomes for all significant program areas.
You know, I think it's a worthwhile area for us to explore. I don't think it can be a priority. I think we're pretty busy right now, but I'd like to keep it in there and maybe reevaluate in June.
Yeah, and we need to think about how would we go about it, because it's ongoing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it should be ongoing. Yes.
Right. Right. All right. Any other new business? Any other new business? All right. Christy, you had some updates on the link that you sent us.
I just added slots for RSVP yes or RSVP no. Just I had to do a little workaround, but that should give us the information we need. So if you're going to bring guests, just put it in the comments.
All right.
Add it. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Anyone else? All right. Can we get a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor to adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, you know what I'm going to say. Just stay on the in the meeting. All right, very good. So we look forward to seeing everyone on the 26th.
Absolutely.
Thank you for a good meeting. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Quick
Bye.
question. So I'm noticing there's a new option for AI Companion now. Is that a note taker?
It is, and I think it's going to get emailed out to everybody. I meant to turn it off, but we'll see
All
what
right.
happens.
Okay, very good. All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.